Hi Papercrafters, welcome to another Design with Joe video. I'm Joanne Rogers, a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Central Alberta, Canada, and I've been designing with you in mind since 1999. Today's video is an edited version of a live recording. Enjoy! What I do is I take a project out of a current Stampin' Up! Catalog, and I make it for you, and I show you how maybe some of the tricks, and some of this is just me trying to figure it out too, because we are given all of the measurements. No, sorry, we're not given the measurements. We're getting given all the supplies, but not necessarily the how-to or the measurements. So this is my interpretation of what it is. What I would love is if you would share this and follow me, follow my page. And I also have a group called Design with Joe VIPs, and we have a huge community. Not huge, we've got a great community, and it's a growing community of folks who are crafters who love to just get together and maybe have some challenges, and we're fairly active over there. All of us have folks in our own circle who are crafters as well, and so just let them know that there's a fun little activity on a Thursday morning at 11 o'clock. And I'm going to show you some tips. I always give you some alternatives after I make the design that I make, so that maybe it gets your thought processes going too, and your juices going, because you may have some of the stamp sets. So today I actually cased a project from the Celebration catalog. So on page 9, and what I do always is I ask you to take a look, and it's this page here, to take a look, and I post it the day before, and I ask you which one you think I'm going to make. And then if you put in what your guess is, it doesn't even have to be right. I take your name, so it's about an hour before I go live that I take your name and I put it into a draw. So I'm going to be working with, so that was Christmas stuff on that page. I'm going to be working with fall, and I've got a couple other ideas for you too. And I'm going to be working with the Harvest Meadow Designer Series paper. The one I'm going to use today is this one here. I really like that it just had a mix, it's tiny little bit of our Misty Moonlight here, Calypso Coral on a background of Bumblebee. And we're also going to be using something that you wouldn't possibly think about using with this paper, and that is the Sparkle of the Season bundle. So this bundle is one of my favorite bundles out of the Holiday Mini catalog, and it's my favorite because it's versatile. So you can get Christmas for sure out of here, which is maybe what you think of first when you buy the title. But there is Halloween in here. There is Grateful I'm using for Thanksgiving, and they've got leaves and bats and stars and snowflakes. So there's all kinds of different things you can do with this set. And in my Next Best Thing open house, which was last Saturday, I showcased a lot of different cards using this set. And you can still get into that Next Best Thing and take a look there if you like, because it was 3 hours full of all kinds of different things, stamping and showcasing and showing samples and games, all kinds of fun there. So I'll put that link in there too. Okay, so I want to take this. And what I want, first of all, is I'm not going to use any of these dies. I'm going to go with some swirls, and I'm going to go with this one right here. And I'm using this one because it has leaves in it that I think would go for fall, which is going to go really, really well here. I'm putting it on here, but we're not actually going to be using it on that paper. Let me just put this stuff aside. So I've pulled out the Grateful already, and I have that on an acrylic block, and I'm going to be using Misty Moonlight. What I am going to be cutting is using my layering circles, and they are a set of dies that you will use over and over and over again. So if you don't yet have these ones, I think these are almost a must-have, and anybody who does die cutting, this is what you want to have. And I have taken a very fine Sharpie, and I've written, not on all of them, but I'm going to write on all of them, what the size of circle that it cuts out. So this one is a 2 7/8 inch circle, and I'm going to cut that out of this paper. And my paper's too big, but I could run that through my mini, but I already have one here that I've cut out. So that's there. Now we do want to use this same size circle. So I want to Now take that circle and I'm going to make a background for it. So I want to use the same size because I don't want to see the paper, but I'm creating a little tag. So now you for sure know which one I'm making. I'm creating a little tag that's going to open up. So I've just taken a piece, this is my 5.5 by 8.5, but it's actually going to be a little bit too big. I could have cut it down to about 3.5 by 3.5. 3.5 by 7 actually, but you need that fold. Okay, so you need this fold because we're going to create a tag that opens up, but you have to take your die and you have to place it. If I place it here, it looks to me like that die is going over the fold, but I have to turn it over and look at it, and I can see that it's not. I have to see the cutting part of the die and then a blank space underneath. And then I know that what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a big circle down here, but I'm going to have the fold there, and that's what I want. And that is what you're going to run through your die cutting machine. And I have one of those already. Okay, so I've got one here, so you can see where I have just a little bit that I've cut. And you know, this is enough, but you could go a little bit more, but you want it because we're going to put some circles in there. And I've cut 2 circles out of my bumblebee that are going to go inside, and then I've used the scallops. So that's where I've used the different sizes of my layering circles, starting with the big one. So you can get a lot of use out of these and make great tags. I'm going to glue this in here using my liquid glue, and I'm going to pull in my silicone mat here so that I don't get glue everywhere. So I'm first of all going to put it on my bumblebee and put this inside here, leaving so that it's nicely in the center. And then I'm also going to do the same thing with my scallop. Now you can write whatever you want on the tag. And if you win this tag, so somebody's going to win this tag this morning, you can write whatever you want on here. So now I've made it exactly the same size because I don't want to see, for the purposes of my card, I don't want to see that calypso coral. So I'm just going to glue that on right now too. So I can go ahead and do that. And maybe I should go a little bit more around because I don't want it to be peeling up from the edges of the circle. Whoop! There you go. That's why you have a silicone mat. Although I did get some a little bit on my grid too. Okay, so that's going to go all the way around. Where the fold is, it's probably just going to go a little bit, extend over the top there. Doesn't really matter because of our pattern, that which way the pattern goes, but if you want it to be exactly straight up and down, then you can just, with your liquid glue, move that around until it's straight up and down. I'm okay with it just the way it is. Okay, so now we need to do the other part of our circle, the main part. We're going to be using that die, and I want to show you how to use the double-sided adhesive sheets. And you can find these in the annual catalogs. On page 167 of the big catalog is where you can find these, and they're right here. They're number 13. Lucky 13. Look at that, lucky 13. And this is our 13th case, the Cattie, and they're right here. And how they come is you get a package like this, and they're a good size. They're 6 by 12 inches, and there's 12 of them in here for $13.50, which is a pretty good deal. And I have had these for a while, and I haven't used them very much, and I've been forcing myself the last little bit to try and use them because I think they're great for when you have intricate and detailed dies like this. So they come where you can see sort of a perforation in them. So I've cut this to be 3.5 by 3.5 because that's the size that I need for my wreath. And what you do is you take off one of the panels. So you cut it down. You can cut it with scissors. I've cut it just with my Stampin' Trimmer. And then I'm going to take, this is how I do it. Now I think you can do it both ways. You could put your cardstock on top there. I tend to like doing it, and I'm going to pull in my silicone mat. I like doing it the other way, where I put it onto my cardstock. So 6 of one, half dozen of the other, if you, whichever way you like. And I line up an edge. So I've got a point here with the point here, and it's quite sticky. So once you stick it down, it's going to stick. So if you get it in the wrong spot, it's going to be a little bit hard to get off. So I just sort of press it down there, and then I line it up and look at where it's going, and then I just sort of smooth it out with my finger. Okay, so now it is stuck down there. You can see it's stuck and adhered really well. And then I fold this guy back and I lift this off. Now, if you have a problem getting this off, you can always take your pick tool, and you can just sort of pull it with the point, which might be easier for you, and then just lift that off. Now, be careful that it doesn't sort of flop back onto your cardstock. So maybe hold it with a nail or a thumb. And once I get that off, then I just lay it down on the table and sort of roll it into place. And it should go pretty much into the right spot. Now this has got a little bit of a waxy feel to it, and that's because both the papers are the same. They've got wax, and it's full of adhesive, so it's completely adhesive. So now when I cut this out, I am going to have adhesive already on the back of my die. Okay, so these I'm like I said, I started to use them a lot more. I used to use, and still do use my liquid glue and do a little bit of dotting, but I thought, I have these, why don't I use them? So that's what you do. And I'm going to show you, I'm just going to run those through my mini cut and emboss machine. So I have the dies that I need to cut this. So you can see this is a cutting edge. This is the cutting platform. You need number 1 and you need 2 number 2. So that's what I have there. So I'm going to place those on the bottom. This size fits through here perfectly, and then run that through. Get that going. Oh, this one's got some. I have to use my Popeye muscles for this guy. Here we go. So I'm going to do that twice, backwards and forwards. You can see I'm using a little bit of force there, a little bit of strength, and that's because we've got a layer. Before you pick it up, look to make sure that it looks like it's cut all the way through, because it's cutting through this sort of waxy paper, the adhesive, and your cardstock. And I look pretty good, so I'm going to take that off. In fact, it looks really good. You can see there. Now, all of these little pieces, I'm going to hold on to that because I'm probably going to use those. So now I'm just going to push this out. So it's going to stay stuck into your die a little bit. Take your pokey tool take your pick tool and just poke out these guys here. You could use your die brush too if you wanted. So I'm just going to poke those out. These ones are too small really for me to do anything with. So they're just going into my little garbage that I have here. And now I'm going to poke out that guy there. I'm going to poke out the rest of it. So that's what all these little holes are for, just to give you a start to poke. So I usually give it a good amount, and then it will pop right out of there. Okay, so it's not stuck in there really, really hard. So that's my wreath. And now I need to do a few leaves. So this still has the wax on it too. So I could cut those, but I'm going to use those for something else. So I'm going to put that aside. But I have these little leaves, and I'm going to cut out some blue ones, which is Misty Moonlight, and I'm going to cut out some bumblebee ones. And yes, I do have those already cut out. So they are really sweet little leaves. There we go. Okay, so they're done. I'm going to leave those there just in case I think I need a little bit more. So now we're going to stamp. So there's not a huge amount of stamping on here. Here's my Misty Moonlight and my Grateful. I'm going to pull in my Stampin' Pierce mat, which is nicely dirty, and probably I need a new one at some point, but it allows me just to stamp onto this when you have your photopolymer and your acrylic block, there's no give in here. There's no sponge, there's no rubber. It's very hard. So sometimes it doesn't stamp as well. So if you have a surface that has some give to it, and there's not a heck of a lot of give in these Stampin' Pierce mats, but there's just enough to improve your stamping. So I'm hoping for the best that I'm going to get this straight, because I'm looking at it and I don't want to get my head in the camera. So let's just see. Not bad. Okay, and so we are going to use that guy. Gonna pull this back in. So we've got quite a few of our things already done. Now I think I'm actually going to just take the ends of this. Now if you don't have a punch to make your ends flagged, first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it so that it's the same on both sides. I can see I've got a little more white on that side. So I'm just going to take a little bit off. And don't be scared just to trim with your scissors. Okay, if it's not perfectly cut, don't worry. People are not going to notice that, the ones who get handmade items from you. So I'm just going to make a flag myself. So I'm going to take my paper snips and I'm going to go right in the middle, and I've gone in probably about 1/4 of an inch. Now I'm going to go from the edge, one edge, to where I ended my cut. And you won't be able to see it probably on the camera, but I can here. So now I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to meet up with that one. That way you're going to get a nice little flag, and do the same thing over here. So middle, about 1/4 inch, and then you're going to go from the one corner and then from the other corner. Okay, and you might need to pull it out a little bit like that one. Just go in after maybe and get rid of any little hairs that you might have. Okay, so there's that. Now let's see, I think we have everything that we need. So we're going to take our words, we're going to take our wreath, and the leaves are going to extend beyond, and then we're going to decide where our leaves are going to go. I think maybe I might do some, now these leaves are a little bit bigger than the other ones, but I'm going to go maybe over top. I'm just deciding right now where that is going to go, and I think maybe pick up another blue guy down here, so it balances a little bit, and maybe a yellow one over here. And then I'm going to decide whether I think I need to have any more. Maybe I'll do one more. And I think I'm going to do a set of blue. And you can only do, there's only one set of these leaves in the dies. And so you do need to run them through once on my blue. And then you've got 2 leaves out of that. There's one, and the other one stayed stuck in it. So again, take out your trusty take your pick tool and poke that out. And I'm going to do one out of the bumblebee as well. Okay, and where'd the top go? There it is. And run that through. And I may not use the 4 of them, but I may use 1 each. So we'll see as we are designing. So those ones both came out. And now we are going to first of all put down our wreath. So I'm going to take off that backing. So I'm going to go to one of my bigger leaves, and you can pull it with your fingernail and it will come off if you have a fingernail. If not, again, go with your take your pick and just go into the edge and maybe pull back a little bit, and it should release fairly easily. I'm going to take, because this one's really detailed, I'm going to put it down on the table, hold it in place with my take your pick, and then I'm going to pull it off. And if that doesn't work, hold it with your hand and pull it off. Try not to get your fingers on too much of the adhesive. So this is quite a detailed one, but that adhesive is being left behind. It may, if it tears, no worries, just go back and start it over again with the take your pick. I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to place it down. So it doesn't really matter, to me it doesn't matter which way this goes. I'm just going to glue so that it's somewhere around there. So I'm holding it still, and then I'm going to let it sort of lay down. Now, for these guys back here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my embossing buddy and I'm just going to tap onto that glue. And by tapping onto that glue, I'm taking away the stickiness of it with my embossing buddy. If you don't have an anti-static pouch like this, you could also use baby powder. So if you just take a little bit of baby powder and sprinkle that onto the sticky parts, it will stop being sticky. Okay, you leave a little bit of powder behind. So now what I want to do is I want to look at where my opening is. So it's going to open this way, and I'm going to place some of my leaves. Now I don't have those done with double-sided adhesive. So I'm going to, I think, you know what? I did all that work to think about where I was going to put them. And now I'm going to change my mind. I'm just going to put them wherever here. Let's see, a blue one up there, I think. And maybe I want it to come this way. So I think that that glue is going to be enough to hold on to it. And then maybe take this guy. This one I am going to put right over top. And you might be able to see a little bit behind there, but that's okay. And maybe another blue guy there. And as I said, I am just sort of, you know, guessing, deciding where these are going to go. I'm going to pick up that glue actually. I think I'm going to put one here where there isn't another leaf. And I'm going to put another yellow guy here. And I'm going to leave a couple just in case I want to decorate with it. So I'm going to take my Grateful. That's going to go on with dimensionals, and I've got mini in my hand, so that's what I'm using. I always it's easier for me to pick them up with my Take Your Pick tool than it is with my fingers. And I could take the backing off with my Take Your Pick as well, but I'm just going to take it off with my fingers. And I'm going to place that so it's not completely straight. I want to make sure that I'm in the right spot again. I am. Okay, I don't want it centered. I decided that I wasn't going to center it. I think I do want another blue leaf, maybe not down there. I think I need a leaf over here. I need some blue over here just for balance. I think that's a good spot. My glue's right here. I put it on the leaf this time. So it doesn't matter if you put it on the leaf or if you put it on the wreath. There we go. And do we need any more? Maybe a yellow up here beside this one. And I'm going to put it on the leaf again. So you can decide however you want it to go. This is just for the garbage, okay? And I don't think I do want to have any leaves on my Grateful, so it's going to go like that. Now we just have to have it attached to something. So I've made just a little envelope with a bow on it. I've got some of our linen thread here, and I also have our punch, which is the Label Me Fancy punch. And this one has a circle and it has sort of a slot as well as the label itself. So I am going to go for this slot here, but you do need to pull in a pencil and you just need to make yourself a hole. Okay, so again, I'm going to look at where it opens up right there. I'm going to make a hole probably right over here, and you're going to need to go over a few layers of cardstock. Okay, so I'm searching for my little pencil mark, which is right there. Now I've got a problem. Before I punch, I've got to look because I'm just about to punch that off. Okay, so I'm gonna go here. I don't want to punch those off. I have a problem, don't I? Okay, well, here's another solution then. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Take Your Pick tool and I'm going to just use my Take Your Pick. So this is if you don't have something to punch it out with. I don't even know where my hole is anymore. Where did I put it? Oh, right there. Okay, so it's right here because it just looks just like the blue. And I'm just going to go right through with my Take Your Pick tool. Okay, so I've got my hole right there. And I'm going to take some of my baker's twine, probably about 14, 16 inches, something like that. And I'm going to thread that through. Now you do have to have your hole pretty close to where that fold is. If you don't have it close to where the fold is, then your tag is not going to open up. Okay, so now I'm just going to poke that through, also with your Take Your Pick tool, which is pretty much another necessity. Now, had I been able to punch it out, it would have worked just fine. And the sample that I did use, and the other samples that I have, it did go through. Okay, so I've got that, and I am just going to put it right with the bow that I already have. And you don't have to have this much baker's twine or twine if you want, the linen thread. But just take it and tie another bow on there. If you wanted, you can tie this bow first and then tie the thread through, and then the last thing is to tie your bow. It's up to you. These are your designs. When you're making them, they're whatever you like them to be. So I'm gonna give a nice big linen thread. The nice thing about the linen thread is that it already has a little wiggle to it. Now I've got a lot there. This one I like the length. This one's just a little too long, so I'm just gonna cut this off. So there is our grateful. I think maybe we need a little bit of bling on there. Let me put on, I think, some of our champagne dots. Just going to put some on just in different spots, just randomly. Again, take your pick tool, comes to our assistance. Use a little bit larger one down here. I think maybe we're going to have a larger one up here too. And another small one. So I'm going for 5, right? You want 3, 5, 7 to be the ones that you use. My bow. Okay, so there is that one. So I'm going to pull in that celebration catalog again to page 9. So what's different here is that this is something that actually is a circular die, and then it has a die that's like a bauble. So these are the dies that come with it. So it actually is a bauble solid one. There's 2 of them. And then this one is a snowflake. This is the joy that's in the catalog. This one is a tree, and this one is merry and bright. So that's where that comes from. So those are beautiful on their own, but this is how you can make them yourself. So this is our grateful. I'm going to put it this way just so the grateful actually reads across the top. The first one that I made of this, actually I did a Christmas one. And so this Christmas one is made out of the Peaceful Place designer series paper, and it has silver in it. And I did a silver wreath, so I used the more Christmassy wreath this time. But I did this out of our Glimmer ombre paper, and it's Night of Navy, but it has different shades because it's ombre, so it's quite light down here, darker up here. And then I just attached it. Let me show you how I attached it. So here's the inside. I don't have an inside on this one. Can you see I made 2 holes, and I actually have my organdy, my glitter organdy white going through, and then the black going through the back. So it didn't take that long to do, but I thought it was the prettiest way to have the tag. So that's just on a little box. And then the last one that I did was I did the sunflower. So you don't have to have something that looks just like that bauble. You can do anything that is circular. And this guy here, so this is the Celebrate Sunflowers, and I think these are called just the sunflower dies. So it has a lovely detailed die, and this one is done out of the gold and rose gold brushed metallic paper. It comes 6 by 6 out of the annual catalog. So I cut the die out of that. This actually is Mango Melody here that I've just put a little bit of shading on. This is Evergreen. This is paper from the Bloom Where You're Planted. And so I have leaves on there as well, and I emboss those. So I did a little bit more work to this one for sure. And there's 3 different ribbons here that I've just knotted and put on the side. But when I take this guy off, so what I did is I used the die itself, that is the shape of the detail, to be the tag. And for this one, I don't have a hole in it because we no longer carry these, but you might have some kind of little clip that you can just clip it to the top of your bag or your box or a piece of ribbon. And you can see that there's some dies there also cut from the same paper. So which one do you love? Which one would you make at home? And I do want you to know that you don't need to, that's sort of hard to see, you don't need to have exactly the ones that are in the catalog, and you can still get some tags that are pretty darn pretty. I think we're done for today. Thank you very much for joining me. Again, if you liked it, please like the video and as well share it, and so that other people will enjoy it. Thank you everybody for joining me. I'm glad that you came. I hope you got a couple different ideas, and maybe there's something in your stash that you can use to create some tags like these. And if you do, I would love to see them. Post them on the page so that other people can see them too. So thanks very much, and we will see you guys again next week for Case the Cattie. And before that, Tuesday night at 6:30 Mountain Time, I do our on-command crafting. And you get to play, you get to interact and tell me what to do. So talk to you later. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.